Hello, I'm Deanna Canaan, CFO and board member of SindyXR. And today we have with us Nini Than, Director of SindyXR XR Support, and Noga Sapir, Founder and CEO of Reflect Orb, a handheld biofeedback device designed to help people manage stress and anxiety through real-time physiological feedback. And I'd like to start off with Noga. If you could introduce yourself and tell us how you came to found your company.
Of course. So I came to found Reflect from my own personal journey. It started with me having anxiety and stress and being very interested in the mind body and how we can learn to use our body to calm our mind. And that led me to an academic path. Originally, I went to study neuroscience because I wanted to understand the mechanisms behind our nervous system and really that connection between how come my thoughts they have such a big impact on my body that when I'm stressed or when I have a panic attack, my heart would race and go up to 170 beats per minute, even though I'm sitting down and nothing is actually happening. And that fight or flight stress response that immediately comes on whenever I'm feeling anxious. And I was very enjoying neuroscience to study and learn about the brain and learn about the nervous system. But after I finished my bachelor's degree, I decided that I wanted to do something else, something a bit more creative. And I stepped back and thought what I love doing. And the surprising answer was I love to knit. I love to create things. My grandma had taught me how to knit. I've been sewing and embroidering. And so I went to study textile design. And initially, I didn't see how the two would really combine. But at the end of my textile studies, I had to choose a final project to work on. And I was really interested in smart textiles and using electronics and computation in textiles to measure. And I thought back to my neuroscience studies and remembered how biofeedback is a method in which we measure physiological signals that I could measure through textile. So my passion for Reflect, actually, the beginning was my final project at school. It was creating a tactile interface to reduce stress and anxiety through biofeedback. So I kind of merged all my passions and all my experience into this product.
I love that you mentioned how it started off with you knitting, a hobby, right? Something that you love to do with a family member. And by the way, knitting is so difficult. I know, Nina, you have a lot of experience, right?
A
Uh,
bit.
and you actually did a project for someone through work with knitting and how complex it can be, but it is so relaxing. And I would love to get into it. I promised my daughter that I would knit her a pair of mittens, and I haven't been able to because I'm still on blankets. It's very difficult. So your brain is working differently. You have this background in neuroscience and your textile background, right? And so how did you I would love to learn more about the actual fabric that's in your product.
Yeah. So really, there's a lot of research behind how tactility and soft surfaces impact our brain and they impact our emotions. And it was very important to me that I created an experience that is really soothing. And really, this is the crux of what's different about Reflect. We took a method of biofeedback, which is something that is usually done in clinics. We didn't invent it. It's been used since the 80s to teach people how to self-regulate. But usually you would do that with wires that you hook up to either your head or a clip on your finger or on your ear. And it's kind of a feeling of it stresses you out, which is funny because you're trying to de-stress. The idea of being measured and it feels clinical and kind of cool. So from the beginning, my idea about Reflect was to create a soft surface and something that you can hold that is more soothing and is more fun. And this has really become something that's very important in the product. Early on, when we were developing the prototype, sitting down with industrial designers, it was very clear that it would be much easier and much cheaper to produce if this was all plastic. And I think, Nini, that you have an orb with you. You can definitely attest to that. It's something, yeah, it's holding it in your hands and hugging it, and the feeling that you get from it is really important. So that became really the leading aspect of the user experience for us, that it's something that is a bit soft and it's covered in fabric and it doesn't feel like it measures you necessarily, but it does in a way that doesn't inhibit your experience.
Excellent. Thank you. Nini, what is your initial experience with the orb?
Um, I have had it for a few weeks, and initially, it actually it's helped me unbelievably. I mean, as a user, the design is great, the feel is comfortable. It's like squishy, a little squishy, and then once it gets going, I've been doing meditation for a while, but I never got the hang of it because I could never figure out if I was actually like, am I getting there? What's happening? And as soon as I used the Reflect Orb, I saw that if I thought I was comfortable, my signals were not saying it's comfortable. I'm like, wait a minute, it's purple and I feel good. But then there's a moment it just flashes to the calmness. And I'm like, what is that? So I'm still working on it. It's still training. It takes training. Okay. It's just not like they're going to do it. And then when you're stressed, you really can't do it. You have to do it at a point where you're calm so you can play around with it. So I've been playing around with it, the music sometimes just the breathing, sometimes just quiet. And then sometimes I close my eyes when I open. I'm like, oh, look, it's white. And then suddenly it goes back to purple because something in my thought was it. But it has been.
That always happens initially when people are excited that they get to white, which is the common color. That flash of excitement that brings you back to purple.
Yeah. But it has helped me. I guess I'll tell you, I do it in the morning, but very briefly, maybe 8 minutes in the morning, and then at night before I go to bed. And I've noticed that when I do it at night before I go to bed, I literally do sleep better. I do. It doesn't, sometimes I have the anxiety of waking up and like I can't get back to bed. But since I've gotten better at it, I think that it has been helping. So yeah.
Can you explain the colors and what they mean?
Sure. So the whole colors to the orb, and they give you insight into your current state. They go from the most alert to the most calm. So we were talking about getting to white. White is the calmest color. Purple is the most alert color, and it goes from purple to blue to turquoise to white. The lighter the light, it is the more calm you are. And it really is about learning to understand and recognize that's level setting. It's all about this skill building. What am I doing and how it translates to my body, and you figure it out. And it takes a bit of time. I think, first of all, people learn that you can't force it. You can't sit down and say, I want to get to white really bad. That doesn't work. You have to kind of let go and be mindful and observe. Then you kind of learn. And it's been very important for us to not be judgmental about it. And I think it's important for the users as well. So when we say the most alert color, we don't call it the most stressed. Being in purple doesn't necessarily mean something is wrong or something is bad. When your nervous system is active, which can be a good thing, though, you're excited, our body doesn't necessarily know the difference between very excited or very anxious. It's the same, the correct. So we first want speaker users to come into Reflect ready to discover and ready to learn, and that every color is okay. And gradually, it's not a magic pill. You hold it and immediately it grants you calmness. It's that it gives you a window to your nervous system that you can then learn how to maneuver and control better. So you would learn what you need to do, how to make the colors change. You would get better.
Is there a single parameter that's measured to affect the color, or are there multiple parameters?
There are two parameters that we measure that are the gold standard in biofeedback for the stress response. One is we measure ECG, and from that we extract heart rate and heart rate variability, which is the the gap between your heartbeats. And I didn't know that when I started, but when we're very calm, our heartbeats vary. We could be saying my heart rate is 60 beats per minute, and we would think it's 1 beat per second. But when the system is calm, 1 beat could be a bit more than a second, one after it could be a little less. The variability between them is high. When our system goes into fight or flight and gets ready to action, the heartbeats become like soldiers where the variability is very low. So heart rate variability is a measure of stress and also of resilience when people practice and are in good shape, even physiologically, and mentally, the heart rate variability. So that's one thing that we measure. And the second is called EDA or GSR, and that's skin conductivity. And that's how conductive our skin is. And it's a very direct measure of stress of the nerve, very direct measure of the sympathetic system. When we're very stressed, our conductivity goes down.
Excellent. And so it's essentially, if I could just explain it for everyone, it measures the parameters are based on their heart rate, correct? Is it based on so how quickly your heart beats, and does it also learn about your exact heart rate individually? Is it a smart tool that okay?
Yes. Every time you start a session with Reflect, we know more about you and we can learn more and guide you better. So we built this personalization for the user. And really what we want is for people to learn how to get to the calmest state and stay there, which is actually much more difficult than just getting there, actually learning how to stay there. And these eventually end up being measured in physiological parameters that we talked about, like HRV. And it's a skill that you learn, and you can get that HRV up and become more resilient, which is just healthy overall.
And so the tools that you're learning while you have the orb, you can use them outside when you don't have it, right? Is it something that, so you're also training your body how to reduce stress outside of your controlled environment?
Exactly. We treat the orb as training wheels. It gives you this opening to seeing what's going on in your body real time and how your body would react. And you would learn what specific mechanisms and techniques work for you. And then you can use those techniques even without the orb. People would learn that when they're thinking about something that they love doing, or when they're breathing a specific breathing technique that really helps them versus another breathing technique. And then that is available to them even when they're
So that's what I've been trying to do is experiment what works best for me in a way, because it's actually teaching self-regulation where I can take it to another circumstance. And if I'm anxious, I'll remember from the training of what to do. And right now I've been trying the sound, I've been trying visualization, and I've been trying breathing and trying to figure out through the dashboard what exactly works best. And there's a little calendar that shows you how many times you do it a day, how long it is, and it records also the days you do it. And so it's interesting to go back and see what you recorded as your feelings too. So it's sort of like a combination of everything that helps you analyze even better what's happening in real time. And I think that's the most important thing is knowing in real time what's happening. Because when I'm meditating, I don't know what I'm really feeling without the orb. With the orb, I can see, oh, that's what's happening. And it's so helpful. Yeah.
Exactly. This is why the app is there. The app is there to help you reflect on your reflect session. We ask you how you felt and how you practiced. You can see your progress. You can see how much time you spent in each of the colors and that you get better at it. And then we get better at learning what we can recommend to you. And we are going to roll out some features soon that are even more personalized so we can help you. We're going to feature those insights that we learned from you and from others like you. So we could be saying, we see that your night sessions are better than your morning sessions, or this is the perfect time for you to try a session with Reflect. And also that people your age who are dealing with the same things that you're dealing with, they found this music track to be the most helpful. So we get smarter and smarter with every session that our users do.
I'm curious to know, it sounds like an amazing product, something that I think all people should try, even if you aren't clinically diagnosed with anxiety, because this could help you get ahead of something that might be maybe forming in the background and creating some issues in your life that maybe you want to take control of now before it becomes something that's clinically diagnosed. So, just to learn more about how our bodies work in given different circumstances, right? And so you're learning more about yourself. That's what it sounds like with your tool. And was the tool developed while you were at university? And how did you transition from saying, I have to share this with the world?
It started out as the prototype was done through university, and I really had a working prototype so people could envision and see the experience. And what changed for me after I finished school was I definitely saw the interest. I saw how people reacted to it. I got to exhibit in some graduate exhibitions and have people interact with the device. And then I think I understood that there's something there that I really want to continue developing that could be very relevant for people who deal with anxiety like me, or even clinicians who have biofeedback devices, but not something like this that they would love to work with. And so it really happened post school, and then started working on this on my own, and it became a company, and that I found investors, and I started it. Initially, it was a company of one, and then it grew. And we had these like growing pains or growing steps of understanding how to take this from a prototype that a knitting designer created at school into something that could really fit into everyone's head and actually work. So it took a while, but I'm very proud of the whole journey.
I have to say that the design is, I don't know if gentle and thoughtful. It is when you have it in your hand. It's well thought out and it's comfortable. So congratulations, really a nice product, I have to say. A successful client, customer, definitely.
That's so great to hear. It ended up being really important, and the way that we connect with devices. And I feel like at some point we're in front of screens and we're inundated with the apps. And I wanted to create something physical in the physical space that is an interaction that we're not really used to anymore. And I think that's one of the things that are unique about it. And I think it also helps when you're very stressed and have panic attack or just general stress that you feel in your body to feel this and to take this into your hands and really feel this. And we have a scientific advisor, a professor who said, you hug it and it hugs you back. And it feels like something that happens, that is more than just
How does it work?
communicating.
Have you had it work with groups, like many people using it at the same time, sharing their thoughts? Or I know that you've worked with children also using this product. So who are the other, your customers, consumers, what have you done with that experiences?
Yeah, we've had some groups, and it's very interesting. What happens in group setting is that you're more aware of others, but there's some synchronization that happens that is very beautiful to see. And ever since we launched the product, it's been really interesting to see the type of people that come up and try it and use it. Eventually, what we're talking about, nervous system regulation, is something that all of us could benefit from. So I've seen a lot of interest and users from different walks of life and different journeys. And we've seen a lot of interest from kids, really from the beginning. It's interesting, and they're curious about it. It looks like a toy, and they want to hold it, and then they learn what it does, and it's really exciting to see. Initially, I thought it would be a grown-up product, and kids would not maybe not necessarily not get it, but it would be frustrating for them if they couldn't succeed. But I was wrong. Kids would sit with us for a while and just immerse themselves, and they kind of know what to do intuitively. You don't have to explain it too much. Adults then tend to intellectualize and wait, why is this color and what am I doing? We have a great quote from one of our employees. Her kids tried it, her daughter, and her daughter said, I love what I need to do in order to make it go white. And she didn't necessarily know what that is, but she loves the feeling. And it's really beautiful to see. And I thought kids would need flashy games and colors and lights, but they don't. They would sit with it. So we've seen a lot of interest from kids and parents. It's also kids with emotion regulation problems, or kids with ADHD. It's a skill that all of us need to learn, but it's really cool to teach it to kids. Learning how to regulate your body, learning how to understand what you're currently feeling and naming your emotion. We're kind of giving it a language of colors and say, I'm feeling blue and I'm feeling purple. And we've also seen therapists and clinicians just reflect with sessions as well. And some of our users are people who go to the therapist and their therapist said, you should buy this for yourself too. So it's this kind of interesting communication that's happening. And sometimes they would use it within sessions together where their therapist can teach them a new relaxation technique and they would use it all to see what's actually going on and learn that it's actually affecting their life.
I love that analogy that you use, that it gives you a hug. You give it a hug and it hugs you back. And also it's not just an app, right? You have a physical device, and we are inundated with apps and technology, which also adds large stress element to our lives. Lots of anxiety overload of information. And so to take a step back, your hands are not on your phone, your hands are on a device that's hugging you back. And so I also wanted to talk about how SindyXR is excited to recommend your product and even lead wellness circles with other users who are interested in being part of a community that wants to improve upon their health and help manage anxiety and stress. And this would be an excellent tool for us to recommend in our wellness circle. So thank you very much. I could preclude the session here that's saying it was successful and in learning more about you and your product. And thank you, Nini, for sharing your experience with us today.
Thank you, Noga. It was great.